Hello, I'm Diane Richard, your host. Recently, I spoke with two dynamic people. One is a 93-year-old unsung hero who shared an amazing story. Some of you might know her, and some of you may not. However, her story depicts how she has woven her talents into the fabric of this city. Her name is Emma Rhodes, and she now resides at the Vincentian de Marillac Senior Living Facility in Stanton Heights. However, until she became ill and unable to work or volunteer her time, for many years she has provided her talents and energy to helping people, especially our little people, our children. My second guest is Nick Vizaka. Nick is a dedicated and enterprising gentleman who transitioned from the corporate world to the nonprofit. He has followed his untiring passion assisting the well-being of our senior population. Nick is the president and CEO of Vincentian Collaborative System and has the responsibility of helping to ensure that our seniors who reside or frequent the various Vincentian facilities for health care are provided exemplary service. Nick and the Vincentian staff are in tune with the many facets of senior living and health care and proudly promote the motto, "It's all about living." After listening to Nick, you will truly understand his passion for helping to provide a vibrant living space and healthcare system where our seniors can feel secure and cared for. Won't you join me in saluting these two unsung heroes who reside right here in our own community? Now, I invite you to listen to their amazing stories on Let's Talk. Emma, when did you begin working for the city of Pittsburgh?
Working for the city of Pittsburgh, January the 9th, 1953.
Wow, so it's been some time that you've worked for the city. You had a long go at it?
A circle. And when I went there, it was about 5 of us. And we had a machine. Nobody knew too much about it. And so we were learning on it. It was an IBM machine.
An IBM machine, but what were you doing on it?
We were doing the police payrolls, trying to get it together, and also all the tickets that they gave out to the customers, people.
Okay. Are you speaking like parking tickets?
Parking and tickets and et cetera.
Citations and things like that? Okay. That the officers would give out or the meter maids or?
We didn't have meter maids then.
Okay.
The officers.
That the officers would give
giving out.
So the citations that they would give out, you were in control of those as well?
Yeah, we were trying to get it together and put it on a machine that nobody too much knew about it. It was an old, they had a small, steel bar, and you inserted in there, and you tried to make it to where you wanted to duplicate and what stops you on where it was and stuff like that.
Okay, and did this machine sort the information for you, or exactly
Yes.
What was the machine supposed to do?
It just sorted, and then we would run it and put it on cards.
Okay, so when you say cards, are you talking about the IBM cards?
No, it was regular cards.
Just regular cards.
And we put the name and title and how we wanted it. I mean, they did. I didn't know too much about it. So they sent me up to IBM school and gave me an intern to work with it. And then I was to come back down and to sort of teach the girls.
Okay.
How to do. And we had about 5 girls. It was just a new thing for us, everybody.
So you had about 5 girls that worked with you at the number 5 police station.
Yeah.
Okay, and then how did things transpire after that?
Well, we moved shortly after that from East Liberty to downtown in the old Pittsburgh post office. Post paper. Post
Gazette?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they eventually ordered everybody that was dealing with the police tickets and stuff like that down to the public, and they called it the public safety building.
So what you're saying is the old public safety building was once the Post-Gazette building. So the Post-Gazette building, they left out of, obviously, they moved out of that building, okay.
We took over the whole
And the city bought the building
and turned it into
and turned it into the public safety building?
Right.
Okay. So the public safety building was located where?
First Avenue downtown and Grant Street. I think that's the address, but it was on that corner.
So that corner is where the PNC first side is located, but across the street is the park, and the park is where the old public safety building used to be. Wow, that's amazing.
And it grew bigger and bigger. Everything that was dealing with the police and anything the public like that, we did the work.
Now you mentioned that they sent you to school. Let's talk a little bit about you're going to school and learning the new systems.
Well, it wasn't easy because we never had anything to do with that kind of automation. But when the vendor or something, well, that police we knew how to do. But other things we did too, because when a vendor would come up to the mayor's office and say, I want it this way, I want it that way, then I would have to go up there, and he would teach me and taught me how they wanted their system put into the big system. And I would go back, and I had an intern with me all the time helping me. I had big sheets of paper. I would write the name of the program we're going to name it. If it was the water bill, the real estate, anything that was going to go on the system, and then I could take a paper and I'd write it out, and we'd see if that's the way they wanted it, and then we'd run it in the big main drive and run it out, and if it was okay, then it was online, and the girls would have to do it that way.
So how many times did you have to do this process?
Every time they want the program set in the main drive.
Every time they wanted a change in the program
Or a new program.
You had to go through this same. Wow,
Absol-
that's amazing. So you were, in a sense, a programmer.
They helped me, or we helped each other.
You helped each other. So you were talking about the difficulties that you encountered, and they simply were, you kept doing it until you got it right, and you had to keep on doing it. Every time they wanted a change in the system, you had to do it.
I was fortunate. I had very good interns, and they would come back to the building with me, sit down with me, and I'd run them after we wrote it up and how we wanted it and everything. And then they'd run it and check it out. If it seemed right and they thought it was right, then we said run it.
You're talking about all the times that you had to go over and whatever the mayor wanted or the mayor's administration wanted in their new system, you were the person that had to do it. How did you get selected for that job?
I don't know. They just thought I could do it because I was faithful. I'd come in, I'd tried to learn everything I could learn, and I might have had a few hurdles with some of the girls. The reason that me being their, I was a straw boss, always said, so it didn't matter. I had a boss over me, and it tumbles down from the top to the bottom. And fortunately, I had a bunch of nice girls, and they worked, and they picked it up very easy, and we worked together. Whenever they would give me an assignment and tell me, the girls have to do it, you don't have to stay. I stayed with my girls, and we worked together.
So you worked as a team.
Yeah, right.
Together, everyone achieves more.
That's right.
So you worked as a team. So what type of technology, as time progressed, what type of technology were you using in order to facilitate you all being able to do the things that the administration wanted you to do?
And we got a new administrative boss or somebody. He'd come in, he didn't like our system, so then he had a system he wanted to bring in, so we'd get more different machines, and then they'd send me back up to school again and to learn how that machine would go. And basically, they're all the same, but it's the way they wanted it set up.
So the types of machines that you were using back then, and we're talking like back in the 50s, were the old IBM key punch card machines?
No, they couldn't use that no more.
They couldn't use that anymore?
No, we were high-tech then.
Oh, so you were high-tech. So talk to me about what was high-tech.
By that time, we started hiring programmers. They would write up the system afterwards and give it to me, and I would run it through and test it out, and if that was the way they wanted it, and we were okay.
So when you became the person who made the changes in the payroll system for the city, tell us how all of that came about, how you were able to influence the payroll system to make it better, more efficient.
Because I see all the I thought it was mistakes, but it wasn't really mistakes. It's the way they really wanted it, and that's how it was.
Okay, so they wanted it a certain way, and you saw that there were a lot of mistakes that were being made in the effort to make it the way they wanted to, but it wasn't feasible for it to be that way, so you made the corrections to it. Oh, yeah. So you and your team, I should say, made the corrections to it, and hence you were able to transform the payroll system into a system that was more efficient for the city. Right. Wow, kudos to you. That's remarkable. How many people were in your particular department now at that time, since you said that they were hiring more people?
Well, I had 20 girls that I was to work with. And we had 10 in the morning from 8 to 4:30, and the other was from 3 to 12 at night.
You know what's very interesting, Emmy, when you talk about the payroll system and how you transformed that, you and your team, but you were the catalyst behind transforming it because you were the one that caught all the mistakes and made changes to all the mistakes. And I think that that's commendable. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that this little lady that I'm sitting here speaking with now was the catalyst in changing the payroll system for the city of Pittsburgh and making it more efficient. And that is something that's very, very honorable, and I applaud you for that. That's just amazing. That is what this show is about. It's about recognizing our unsung heroes, recognizing people who have done things in the city of Pittsburgh or outside of the city of Pittsburgh who have great contributions that people never hear of. And to that fact, you are to be commended for doing such a great job, because now, of course, in the technology that we have today, things are like quick as a snap. But back then, you had to work a little bit more in the programming because of the types of machines that you had back then in order to make things work. And you did all of that with your team, as you mentioned, but you were the catalyst behind doing all that. And I think that that's remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. So at what time, when did the city transition to greater technology? Was it before you left, like the biggest technology or the greatest technology of them all?
No. I think it's during the time.
During the time that you worked for the city, you were able to see a lot of transition in technology. Yeah.
And then I retired.
Okay.
I gave it up. I thought let some young girl have that position, because it was a good position. It's a learning, because they sent me to different schools to learn this, and the interns they would send back with me were very nice, and they would help me very much. So I was blessed with that part. It made it easy.
Incredible. So, for the record, we're going to correct it. And it was 38 years that you worked for the city, not 68 years that we originally said. So needless to say, you enjoyed your job.
Oh, yes. I really did. And another thing, if you got good workers, then it's good. It's fine. And then I learned I didn't go to college, but they sent me to Pitt. They sent me to Point Park for class and stuff. That helped me in my walk up down there.
So you went to Pitt, you went to Point Park
For classes.
for your classes, for you to be able to do your job.
Yeah, and that helped.
And so you were the supervisor.
Yeah.
Okay. When were you promoted? Do you recall when you were promoted to supervisor?
I worked under 3 mayors, so.
What mayors were they?
I think it was Barr, and I knew it was Calderi.
So you worked under 3 administrations over your 38 years. Wow, that's incredible. And each administration brought in a different way of doing things.
Naturally, you know.
Yes, yes. So now, you've retired from the city of Pittsburgh with 38 years under your belt. What did you do after that?
Found out that the Children's Institute, not basically the children, but the Red Cross on Boulevard Allies, they were asking for people to volunteer. So I went down there and volunteered, and I went down, and they sent me up to the Children's Institute.
In Squirrel Hill.
In Squirrel Hill. And I went there for like 3 hours a day, part-time. And then I left there, and I had put in for Sears out in Monroeville, and they called me. So I said, I'm going to take that because I was getting a little bit of money. I wasn't getting anything.
So you were volunteering at the Children's Institute.
But not Sears.
But not Sears. You were getting paid for Sears.
Yes, so I left. I would leave
the
Children's Institute and go to Sears in the afternoon and work 4 hours and go home.
So you did both?
Yeah.
So at the Children's Institute, what kept you there so long?
Because I like the kids. And I was assigned to the speech department. But they got to know me so well everywhere. And so every morning somebody's out there greeting, "Hi, Grandma Emma." They call me Grandma Emma. Even the bosses would call me Grandma. "Hi, Grandma, how you doing this morning?" I said, "I'm fine." And keep on stepping.
Grandma Emma.
Yeah.
So that was the name. But you know, I read somewhere where you were given quite a few accommodations from the Children's Institute. Let's talk about those.
Well, every year they would have a tea or a luncheon for all of us volunteers. And they gave us recognition, whoever. I got one for 15 years, and I got one for 20. Then I just got all from the city, from the mayor, from the councilman. Yeah.
Because you have proclamations as well.
Oh, yeah, I got lots of.
A lot of recognition, a lot of proclamations, a lot of accommodations.
Oh, yeah, I could show you them. I got stacks of them. Stacks of them.
So you worked 10 years with Sears.
Yeah.
So part-time with Sears at the same time that you were working with the Children's Institute. So you worked for the city for 38 years, you gave Sears 10 years, and you gave the Children's Institute 23 years.
I would have made 24 in September.
Now, you talked about you getting ill. And upon your getting ill, which you, by the way, you look fabulous, so I don't understand you getting ill, but we all get ill, but you look tremendous. You ended up coming to a place called Vincentian de Marillac. Talk a little bit about what Vincentian de Marillac is to you in the type of place that it is.
Well, I had been there before for my knee, and I liked it. It's small. It has about 35 beds. And the help was wonderful.
Is this a human services facility, or what type of facility is it?
Well, I was getting therapy.
You were getting therapy?
For my knee.
Okay.
That time.
Okay.
And then I ended up back down there in May April, I think it was. And I'm getting the whole thing. It's like my second home now.
So now you live. So now you live at this
Yeah,
facility.
but it's the reason my sons and another guest, the family, she's happy because I had been there, and it's spotless, it's clean, it's not so many people crowding, you know.
It's more intimate.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people.
No, there's a 35 bed, and they're very good to me and everybody. And it's clean and it's nice, and have a lot of activity. Molly's our director up there for activity, and she keeps it rolling. So if you're lonely and don't, it's your fault because
there's so many activities.
and you don't have to just sit in your room in the morning. It's beautiful, and the place is beautiful to me, and I like it.
Well,
so I've just made myself comfortable.
And this is home.
It's home.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have a family.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about your family.
I have two wonderful sons, and they're doing well. The oldest one is, Louis just turned 670, and he's a retired FBI agent, and he has his little own work at home, he does. And Richard, he's my baby. There's 10 years between them, and he works over at the Shady Side as a therapist assistant. So they
Physical therapist.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did well, and so I'm happy.
You're very proud of them.
Yes, I am. I'm happy.
Do you have grandchildren?
Yes, I do. I have, no, let me see, three boys. Boys are in our family. Mm-hmm. And I have two, Chris is a great grandson. And then I have three great grandchildren.
Okay.
So that's about it.
Okay, and I think I read somewhere is Sydney, Brandon, and Chris Jr. Okay, all right, great. So Emma, what do you want people to know about Emma Rhodes? There's so much to know. I mean, we've talked about so much. There's your whole life as an employee for the city of Pittsburgh. You were a mother, you were a wife, you raised your boys. You've done so much volunteering and outreach for people in your church.
I sang in my senior choir 35 years.
So you were with the choir for 35 years at the same church.
That's my church.
That's your church. Unreal. And what else did you do at the church?
I was a leader for a lot of things. I worked hard over there too, because I enjoyed it.
Very dedicated woman. You're to be commended for all that you've done, Emma. And I'd like to thank you so much for speaking with us today. You truly are one of Pittsburgh's most unsung heroes. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Vincentian Collaborative System. From what I understand, it's a nonprofit organization. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So Diane, we have 3 nursing homes here in the city. We have Vincentian de Marillac. In the North Hills, we have Vincentian Home, and in Green Tree, we have Vincentian Mary Manor. We also run 2 daycares, one in the South Hills at Mary Manor and one up in the north at Vincentian Home, our child care center. We have a foundation also. So we're a nonprofit organization caring for seniors mostly here in the Pittsburgh area.
Where is Vincentian de Marillac located?
Vincentian de Marillac is on Stanton Avenue in Stanton Heights. I guess if you're from the city, Morningside, the Morningside area,
Heights,
yeah, Stanton Heights,
East
right?
Liberty.
East Liberty, right? So yeah, or East Liberty. East Liberty.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right here, we've been here for a long time. We've been here for over 60 years here in Morningside, Vincentian de Marillac. This was actually an old mansion, believe it or not, back in the day. There's a lot of history here on this property. It's a beautiful property. I
It
think,
is beautiful.
and I think if you stay here long enough, I think you'll see the wildlife, which is kind of rare in the city, right? To see turkey and deer, but and I think that's a lot of the reasons why we're always full, and the residents love it here, because you don't feel like you're in the city.
In looking outside, it doesn't look like you're in the city. It looks as if you're in the country, and you're in a big home in the country, and it's just absolutely beautiful.
And it's quiet, right?
It's very quiet. You'd never know.
Right. So I think if you sit, we just redid the porch outside. It was falling apart, and for many years, I've been here a year now, a little over a year, and one of the first things I wanted to do was redo that porch for the residents and allow them to sit outside on those nice warm summer nights. And that's the biggest compliment I get is, my goodness, like sit outside with my family on a nice summer night, and you don't hear the traffic. You're in the city, but you don't hear the traffic. And I've been here in the fall, as I was telling you earlier, when you can actually hear the lions roar from the zoo, which is kind of pretty cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
So, it's all about living. What's that mean?
It's all about living. I'm going to tell you how that came about, right? So we had a strategy session, and I said to my team, I said, let's think about what really is Vincentian? What do we want to be? And more broadly, when you think about the senior space, you see live with a purpose. Or I'm saying, well, hold on a second. I don't want people to go into a nursing home or a senior facility. It's not time to die.
Exactly.
This is just the next chapter of your life. It's all about living. You've got a lot of time on your hands. Let's make the most of it. So it stuck, and we said it's all about living.
And I think that's wonderful because it gives people hope.
Right.
It gives them a sense of, hey, I'm not ready to transition over yet. I still have a lot of life left in me. Maybe the body's not willing, but the mind is. So, I still have a lot to give.
And I'll tell you what, Dan, I think even the body does still have a lot to give because, as I've seen here, over the last year, even though we have a lot of residents, especially in our independent living, they volunteer. And these folks are in their 80s and 90s. And they volunteer, and a lot of them, they're educated, or they had good jobs when they were in the workforce. They've got a lot to teach even our younger population, right? So we have a lot of young kids that come in and volunteer, and we're working to put together a lot of intergenerational programs that brings college and high school students together with these people. And I think that's a big difference.
Because the young can learn so much from our seniors.
Oh my goodness.
Can learn so much, and the seniors can learn today's new age.
So my son volunteers up at Vincentian Home. He's a senior, and he's doing it for a community service project, right, for his school. And he thought, well, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a difference in these people's lives. So he's just writing his college essays now. And I read one of his college essays, and it's actually, I can't believe how they made a difference in my life. And he would tell me, Dad, the history books, that's not like what it is. I got it firsthand from someone who was there. And it's much different. So I think we need more of that.
So let's talk about how all of this was founded. Like, I know that the Sisters of Nazareth.
Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. So they came on board, it was a little over 10, 12 years ago, but the Vincentian sisters have been around since 1924. So we've been a staple in the North Hills since 1924, and over time, Marion Manor, the Sisters of the Holy Spirit, came into our family in Marillac, and again, has been here since, I believe, the late 50s. So it's something, there's a tradition there. I think a lot of times when you see a lot of these other senior facilities or nursing homes that come in and build these shiny new ones, there really is no history, there really is no tradition. We've been here since 1924. And that's a beautiful thing because I can always say with confidence, we're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
We're going to be here for the next 100 years and then some because, it's our mission. We're driven, compelled by Christ and to take care of people. And that's what we do. And that's the Sisters' mission. So we will always be here.
And that's very important for people to know.
Absolutely.
That you're here for the long haul. You're not just some shiny facility and you usher people in and usher people out. People have a home here. They are very happy to be here, and they're taken well care of here.
Very well care of, and I think that's a great point that you make. It's a shiny new facility, and a lot of these organizations, as you alluded to earlier, we're nonprofit. A lot of these organizations that are coming in are for-profit. They're looking to make some money, right? So I think for us, it's not about that. We provided over $7.5 million of benevolent care last year alone. We're a small organization. That's a lot of money. That's free care. That's folks that came in here. We have never told somebody to leave because of the inability to pay. And I'm proud of that. People come here and we take care of them.
And that's something to be very, very proud of, because there are a lot of people out there who, especially seniors, and with the way the healthcare is now, the cost of healthcare and the cost of being able to sustain yourself in your senior years, it's become more difficult in this time, in this day and age. So to hear that and have our viewers hear something like that's very promising for a lot of people who are looking for a place to put their loved ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen federally, right, with Medicare, but even locally with the insurance battles that we have in the hospitals. But we know that we're the one constant. We'll always be here for them, and we'll figure it out. We'll work with everybody. I think that, I tell people we're kind of like the Switzerland, right? We get along with everyone. We're the neutral party. And I think even though we're a Catholic organization, you can walk through our halls and you'll find people from every religion, from every race, every creed. It doesn't matter. It's about the person. We were founded as Catholic, but like I said, you can go through any of our facilities and we'll embrace anybody.
So it's very diverse.
Very diverse.
And that's very important, because the world isn't made up of one certain...
No.
Well, it is made up of one race. Many different people, but it's made up of one race.
Correct.
And so we all know that's the human race. So everyone should be treated equally.
Exactly right.
I feel.
Exactly right.
Feel. So Vincentian has values. And the hallmark, from my understanding, the hallmark of those values is advocacy, collaboration, compassion, dignity, innovation, quality, spirituality, and stewardship. Joyful, compassionate care is the hallmark of Vincentian. Let's talk about that.
Boy, I could hire you. That was pretty good. Joyful, compassionate care. And I think that's who we are. And as I said, it doesn't matter who comes through our doors or who we're taking care of, they're treated the same. And we're proud of that. And I think you mentioned all those values, and I added one, which took a little bit of time, and the sisters were a little bit hesitant, but innovation. And if you go back and you look at our founder, St. Vincent de Paul, right? And one of his things was innovation. So how do we stay ahead of that? In a world that we're in today, as you said, there's a lot of things are happening, and you need the diversity, and the world is changing. We need to change too. We need to adapt to it, and that's innovation. It's not your grandmother's nursing home that you think of 30, 40, 50 years ago. We need to adapt. It's the baby boomer population that's getting, every day, 10,000 seniors are aging into 65 or older, right? So I think we need to adapt, and their needs are changing. The baby boomer that's coming in now, it's that hippie, it's that flower child. And their needs are a lot different than the greatest generation when they aged into this. So I think we need to innovate, and we need to be able to meet their needs. Exactly.
Your mission statement. Allow me to read it.
Please.
Compelled by the love of Christ, Vincentian Collaborative System nurtures and sustains a ministry of compassionate care that preserves the human dignity, and I like that, preserves the human dignity of persons within a diverse and changing society. Your take on that?
I can tell you I walk these halls. Every day I'm in one of our homes, and we live it, we breathe it, and I think every one of our employees embodies it. And I think the sisters, that's what we were built upon. I think when you look at the different ministries that the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth have all over the world, whether it's in India, in Belize, in Africa, we're all over the world. It doesn't matter. It's all about the human dignity. And to your point, there's one race, the human race. And that's all that we are worried about, and that's all that we are. And I think that's what sets us apart. We don't care. To us, you're a human being. And when with a need, and most of them at their most vulnerable, right? When you get to that age and you can't do things for yourself, these folks are, they got pride, and we have to realize that. And we have to preserve that pride, and that's, I think, what we do very well.
Oh, this is wonderful. I just think that mission statement spoke to me, because I just think that it's very important to preserve the dignity of people, because you never know where people have come from.
That's right.
When they get to this point in their stage of life, sometimes they don't know where they're going. They just know that they're living, but they don't know where they're going. And for Vincentian to provide a facility or facilities to be able to nurture and care for those people, I think is outstanding.
Right, and to your point, when I look at somebody or I visit with residents, I don't know who I'm talking to. I'm just talking to a person. And I find out later, hey, you know that they were a teacher, they were a principal, they were a PhD, they were an engineer, they worked for the city. I don't know that. To me, they're all the same. Everybody's the same. But it's amazing when you find out about people, what their background is. Mm-hmm. And I said that I would challenge anybody to come into any of our homes and just spend a half hour with a resident. You'll learn a lot. A lot.
How many seniors and their families do you service?
So on any given day, we've got about 500, a little over 500 seniors a day. Annually, that's over 2,000. So there's a lot, you know, when I say the 500, a lot of them are long-term residents. But we also have short-term rehab. So we do have folks that come in after a surgery, and they come in and out. And, you know, as we know, insurance needs are changing. So that...
Oh, you're in and out.
Right. So that
Exactly.
Right. So, you know, I can say, I know in the past, 21 days and you could stay, you know, now it's 8-9 days.
Yes.
So we have a very short window to really make them part of our family. And sometimes that's all we see them for is that 8-9 days and then they go. But that's our job. When you're here for those 8-9 days, they're our family. So on any given year, it's well over 2,200 seniors that we service. That's a lot.
You mentioned before that you have child care facilities. Correct. Let's talk a little bit about those child care facilities.
Up in the North Hills, we have a Child Development Center, which is on the campus across the road on McKnight Road. And we have about 115 kids, and we have anywhere from age 6 months up to the preschool age.
Is that per day, every day?
Per day, every day. Do you want to come up and baby? Well, I will tell you, I have my most fun on Fridays. I've been asked to go up and read to the children at 9 a.m., so I'll go up and I'll read to them. Or if you ever want to hold a baby, a stressful day, you go up and you hold a baby. Yeah. It's incredible. So we have that. And then in the South Hills, at our Green Tree facility at Vincentian Marion Manor, we have childcare right in the building. That's a beautiful thing because the seniors can interact with the children, and we have about 65 children there.
And you know, that can be very therapeutic.
Oh, absolutely.
Because some of them, if they have smaller grandchildren or great-grandchildren, maybe they don't have an opportunity to see them because they're out of state or, correct, you know, they just don't have an opportunity to see them. So being able to interact with the children, it can be very therapeutic.
Well, a lot of the children, you know, they may have lost a grandparent. That's or true. Both, or may not know any of them. So to see that, it's a great interaction. Yes. Absolutely.
You have child care, skilled nursing, short-term rehab, memory care. Let's talk about memory care.
I think that's the biggest growing area, and I think a lot of people know that the Alzheimer, the dementia, you want residents to be in a safe environment. And if you're a family member, you want to know that if my loved one is going to a home, they're in a safe environment. Okay. And we offer that up at Vincentian Home. We have a memory care unit, which is secure, but also has a garden inside, mm-hmm, so they can go outside. And residents have the ability to roam their floor and their patio and still feel like, you know, we're still at home and, mm-hmm, you're not confined. But I think that's the future, and we're looking to actually expand on that. I could probably add another 50 beds, another 50 rooms, and I would fill them. It's a growing need in this region.
How many employees have the pleasure of working for Vincentian?
We have over 600 employees across our homes and across our child care and our rehabilitation that we have. And even more so than that, I'm proud of our volunteers because I think we have over 300 of them. And I consider them an extension of our family because without them, we are fortunate to provide daily mass in each one of our facilities, mm-hmm, for our residents. So it's kind of hard, you know, for the nurses, and how do you get these residents down to mass? And it's our volunteers. You know, they'll take them to mass, and they'll take them back to the room, and they'll take them to activities, which keeps them active. And for us, like I said, 300 volunteers, it's pretty darn good.
It's excellent. But when we talk of our the diversity within your units, and you have mass every day, what about those residents who are non-Catholic?
The doors are open. If a rabbi wants to come in, a pastor wants to come in and pray with those residents, we don't, more than welcome, more than happy. And I think it's wonderful even for our other residents to see that, to experience what other cultures, other religions have to offer. And that's something, we don't stop that, absolutely not.
Does it happen often?
It does, and I've never had a problem. There's not a resident or a family member that's ever been offended or has ever said, this is a Catholic facility, you can't do that. Because as I said, when you come through our doors, we're all the same, right? And I tell people there's one God, and it doesn't matter how you pray to him or what religion you are, there's one God.
I believe that as well. A new word for me. I need for you to help me out with this. What does resident-centric care mean to Vincentian?
So we recently actually started a program. We hired a person to actually focus solely on more than just resident-centric care. It's patient and family-centered care. So anything that we do, any programs that we build, any services, it's all about the resident. It's all about the family member. They're at the core. If it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work for us. So anything that we do, we put teams together at each one of our facilities made up of employees, family members, residents. What do you want? You live here. What are some of the issues that you've come up with? What do you want to see? And I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was at Vincentian Home, and I actually gave a pizza party for our residents. A lot of our residents said, the food is great here, but the pizza stinks. So I said, great. I said, and a lot of these residents, remember, some of them have been with us for 5, 6, 7 years, and they love to go out and eat, and now they can't do that anymore. So I ordered pizza in, and it's a treat, right? So it's something nice for them to come in. So it's all about the resident. What do you want? And I think that's something that we do well. We listen.
You listen.
We just don't hear. We listen, and then we implement that. And I think it's enormous. I mean, these folks, you can't just put them in a room and say, no, you've got to interact and you've got to listen with them. So it's almost like its own little advocacy groups within the homes made up of residents and families. And I hold town hall meetings with family members, with residents. I like to do them at least every other month. And I want to hear what's working, what's not, and let's change it.
And I think that's very important for the system, meaning Vincentian collaborative system, to recognize that the residents are not just the number on their room.
No, they're family.
They're family. And that's very important.
They're family.
That is very important. How does Vincentian incorporate engaging activities and opportunities to help keep the residents active?
Well, and I think we mentioned a little bit of that before. We like to learn a little bit about those residents. You know, what do you like? What did you do before you came here? What job did you have? And then incorporate that with our volunteers and with our students, with our younger people, and create activities around that and stimulate those folks. It's amazing. We heard from a lot of our folks, I used to like to have a drink after dinner sometimes. So now we have happy hours. These folks, well, let's be honest, they're all over 21, right?
Yes, just a little bit.
So, if doctors say it's okay and medication, why not have a little wine and cheese?
Yes.
And get to interact and socialize with some of your fellow residents and the employees and your family. I know every Sunday at Vincentian Home and at Marillac and over at Vincentian Marion Manor, we have Steeler tailgate parties. Families come in, bring in a covered dish. Let's watch the game. We have a sitting area and they watch the game. So engage.
That's fun.
Just because you came to the home doesn't mean you can't do what you used to do. It's all about living, right, Diane?
Doesn't mean that you can't live.
Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Wow, this has been wonderful. Now, I want to go back. When we were talking about the people, the residents, I should say, the family members who live here or live at the residences, and they have done some remarkable things. But quite often you don't hear about the things that they've done in their lives until you read their obituaries.
Correct.
And I think that we need to get away from that.
Agreed.
I think that we need to, these unsung heroes that people know nothing about, they've never known that these people have done great things, that they have woven themselves into the fabric of this city or some city or within the fabric of life with things that they've done within their lives. So I think that it's important to maybe expose these people if they're willing to do that. What is your take on that?
I think we need to celebrate these people, because you're absolutely right. Whether it's in our homes or other nursing homes throughout the region, there's some pioneers.
Absolutely.
There's some trailblazers. And you're right, you don't know until you speak to them, which is my point, which is why I think we have a lot of programs that we want to start to incorporate intergenerationally with college students, to start writing stories about these folks' lives and get to know them. Yes. And you dig a little bit and you go, oh my gosh, I had no idea you were part of this or you were part of that. And to start to celebrate those and let everybody know. And then I guess to your point, then expose it to everybody. But to celebrate it, because they're good things, and I completely agree with you. Unfortunately, it's the obituary. Yes. And that's, when things like that go unnoticed and it happens and we read an obituary, then we kick ourselves.
Shame on us.
And say, shame on us. Look
Yes.
what we had in our home and we
Yes.
didn't even realize that.
Yes.
So, we're incorporating programs back to the patient and family-centered care that start to really look at that and start to get that information from the residents. But to be able to do that, you got to sit down with them.
Absolutely.
You have to talk to them.
At your Vincentian de Marillac facility, I've recently spoken with one of your residents, and her name is Emma Rhodes, and she's a character.
Emma's a trailblazer.
She is a trailblazer, and Emma helped to pioneer the payroll system back in the 50s. She started with the city of Pittsburgh back in 1953. She pioneered the payroll system to what it is today. Now, and of course, many iterations and loads of technology later, it's morphed into something else.
Right.
But back then, from the old IBM key punch days, she helped to program and revolutionize the payroll system for the city of Pittsburgh. And that's what we talked about today as one of your residents. So, as you say, she is a pioneer.
And I thank you for that, because without you, a lot of people wouldn't have known Emma until her unfortunate, something would happen to her. But now people know. Yes. And I think we need more of that. And we need, and I appreciate you exposing that and celebrating Emma. And I just saw Emma not too long ago, and she's a pistol.
She's a pistol.
and I love her energy. I love her enthusiasm. And you know what? If you sit down and talk to Emma, you'll learn a lot. You just said it, 1953. Think about that. Yes. I mean, we're talking almost 120 years ago. No, what am I saying? My goodness, my math is off, Diane. 60.
No,
Don't tell Emma. My goodness.
64 years
My
ago.
math is off. 64 years ago.
Yeah.
She did something 64 years ago that we're still trying to perfect now.
Yes.
She had the foresight and the vision 64 years ago to do something. And not only do something, but I think what's more amazing, the other thing that you said, 1953. Think of 1953. Not only to be a woman in 1953,
Absolutely.
but an African-American woman
Absolutely.
to be able to do that is incredible.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of lessons there, a lot of education for our young people to learn from Emma.
That's not in the textbook.
That is not in any textbook, and it's not in any history book.
Just the book of life.
It's the book of life. So please don't tell Emma I said 120. My math is off.
I won't have to tell her.
No, but yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Well, Nick, thank you so much
Thank you.
for your time, for being here with us today and talking about your different facilities where people of all diversities, I should say, are welcome. And the care that you give them, the love that you give them, the understanding and the foresight that you give them to let them believe and know that they will be taken care of is paramount.
Yeah, and thank you for being here and listening.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Dan.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Let's Talk. Join us as we feature other unsung heroes who are sharing their stories to enlighten others. You never know the impact someone's story can have on your life. Everyone has an amazing story to tell. Won't you share yours with me?